You ever heard about the woods behind your house? Is they re-haunted or there's a killer living in there and doing go after dark? Because he'll kill you? Yeah, me too. And I always thought those were just stupid kids' stories until one day I was walking home from school. It was dusk. Shadows were stretching, and I started running because I could swear. I saw someone watching me from the trees. And then I remember thinking, if there really is a killer out there, I'm not going to let him get me. So I picked up my pace. But then I turned around and I could have sworn I saw a figure emerge from the tree line, start running towards me, but then it disappeared. I ran faster, and suddenly I could hear footsteps behind me. Heavy footsteps getting closer, closer, closer. My heart was pounding, adrenaline pumping, could feel my lungs burning. But the sound behind me was steady. Whatever was there had longer legs than me. It was catching up. I burst through the front door and slammed it shut, locked it through the deadbolt, turned on all the lights. And standing by the window, I could look out and see that there was no one there. But then I started hearing knocks on the door, slow and heavy, just like the footsteps. I pressed my back against the door, waiting, listening. But after a while, it went away. Maybe it was just some trick of my imagination, a figment of my fear. I tried to tell myself that. I told myself there was no way a killer was out there in the woods. But even so, I didn't go outside for days. Too afraid of what might be lurking in the shadows. And in the meantime, I started researching killers who live in the woods. And this story came up. It stood at the edge of an abandoned village, an old, dry well that no one dared to approach. Legend said that if you leaned over the stones at night and whispered your own name into the darkness, a voice would whisper it back. But once the well spoke your name, you would never be seen again. Now, you're probably thinking classic creepypasta, right? Well, that's just the beginning. This one gets way darker. Now, Mira was a city girl who didn't believe in village ghost stories. She laughed at the warnings. But one night, curiosity pulled her to the edge of that well. The moon was hidden behind clouds. The air was unnaturally heavy. She leaned forward and whispered softly, "Mira." At first nothing, just silence. Then from deep below came a reply, "Mira." But it wasn't her own voice. It was wet, distorted, like someone drowning and breathing at the same time. Her blood ran cold. She staggered back from the well. No one was there. But from the darkness, she felt eyes staring back at her. She ran home, locking every door and window. But all night long, she couldn't sleep, 'cause from the fields, from the well, she kept hearing it. "Mira, Mira, Mira." At sunrise, the villagers found her house empty. Her bed untouched, her shoes still at the door. But when they walked past the old well, they swore they heard a faint voice echoing up from the darkness, "Mira. You know, this story has everything. A creepy well, a mysterious killer, a desperate escape, and of course the eerie whispers that drive us insane. Oh, and did I mention it's also a mystery? Because at the end of the story, we're left wondering what happened to Mira. Did the killer get her? Or is she still out there somewhere? And if you want to find out, then you have to keep watching because I've got 3 more stories just like this one for you. The next one is called The Old Well. 2 teenagers decided to test the legend. One of them, Mark, was skeptical. He didn't believe in ghosts or curses. The other, Emma, was a true believer. They stood at the edge of the well. Mark leaned in and said, "I don't believe any of this, but let's just do it," he whispered Mark. Then they waited. Silence. Emma nudged Mark. "Didn't you hear that?" Mark leaned in again. "I don't believe any of this, but let's just do it." This time, his voice was a bit louder. "Mark." Again they waited, and this time they both heard it. A voice from the darkness, raspy and cold. "Mark, Mark." Mark and Emma screamed and ran, each blaming the other for angering whatever was inside the well. As they ran, they could hear the voice following them. "Mark, Mark, Mark. Whoever or whatever was in that well wanted them both." Here's another one. "What's in the woods?" It was an ordinary day in a small town. The sun was shining, birds were tweeting, and people were going about their daily lives. But for 17-year-old Liam, it was going to be anything but ordinary. He was walking home from school when he heard a voice calling his name. At first he thought it was his friend playing a prank. He turned around, but there was no one there. The voice came again. "Liam, Liam, Liam." He stopped in his tracks. Where was that voice coming from? Fear started creeping up on him like a shadow. He turned and ran, crashing through the underbrush, stumbling over tree roots. He didn't dare look back. He could hear the voice getting closer. Liam, Liam, Liam. Suddenly, the trees opened up, and he saw his house in the distance. Relief washed over him. He broke into a run, the voice now a scream. Liam, Liam, Liam. He burst through the front door and slammed it shut, locking it. But the voice was still there outside, scratching at the door, begging to come in. Liam, Liam, Liam. What was that voice who was out there? Why did they want him? All right, here's the last one. It's the secret of the abandoned village. The old abandoned village was a place of mystery and intrigue. It had been deserted for years, but rumors persisted of strange occurrences in the area. One day, a group of explorers decided to venture into the village to uncover its secrets. They walked down the overgrown path, their footsteps echoing in the stillness. As they explored the village, they stumbled upon an old dry well. It was covered in vines and creepers, but something about it drew their attention. One of the explorers leaned over the edge and whispered, "Hello," but there was no reply. They continued their exploration, but the well was on their minds.
Ow.
Later, as they sat around a campfire, they decided to test the legend. They took turns leaning over the well and whispering, "Hello," but there was no reply. Disappointed, they decided to call it a night. But as they slept, they were awoken by whispers coming from the well. Hello, hello, hello. They were coming from inside the well. Terrified, they ran away, never looking back. And as the sun rose, they could hear the whispers echoing in the morning mist. Hello, hello, hello. What was it about this well that made it so eerie? And what were the voices trying to say? And if you think that was scary, then you re-gone, nah. Love this playlist of spooky stories that are guaranteed to keep you up at night. And if you enjoyed these stories, please hit that thumbs up button. Until next time, happy haunting.